Here comes the grand finale of our season. All the participating teams. There are only 3 days left for the sprint. They have to seize every minute and every second. Go all out to catch the tuna babies. The gunpowder of the competition is getting stronger and stronger. I have no idea among the top 3 players either. Who on earth will have the last laugh? Put on the crown of the champion. The remuneration received will exceed the $100,000 mark. In the late night before the sun rises, the captain of the fishing mania, Greg, lead the crew members on another fishing trip. The plan is within these last 48 hours. Catch a huge tuna. Sell it to middlemen at a high price. Meanwhile, the captain of the windmill, Taylor, also with the same thought as Greg. After all, every minute is crucial now. Surely the other contestants. It was calculated in the same way. After all, who can escape the temptation of money? At this time, the detector of the small shell number. Abnormal movements were captured. Obviously, there are tuna around. When the fishing rod is slightly bent, the crew rushed forward quickly. However, they have just retrieved a little fishing line. Then it was found that the fish's resistance was abnormal. A completely unusual tuna. Its escape method is actually the same as that of a shark. This made everyone on the ship feel quite troubled. But deep down, I was secretly delighted. After all, sharks are easier to catch than tuna. Just give a normal pull. They could be easily towed onto the ship. There is even no need to worry about the fishing line breaking. Just at this moment, the fishing enthusiast. The fishing rod has also become bent. This made them extremely excited. I never expected that I would be so lucky. After Greg caught the fishing rod, start collecting the fishing line immediately. However, one cannot be impatient at this moment. Nowadays, the value of every fish is extremely high. Once the fishing line breaks due to carelessness, that was really a case of wanting to cry, but having no tears. Unfortunately, the accident still happened in the end. The tuna finally escaped. Let's take a look at this side of the small shell number. Their progress is extremely rapid. The tuna has been pulled to the surface of the sea. Brandon is holding a harpoon. It pierced down without hesitation. Several people quickly tied the fishtail tightly, in case any accidents happen again. Their arrest speed is indeed astonishing. It's not yet dawn. The tuna has already been caught. As they hauled the fish onto the boat, the fish was measured to be as long as 103 inches. Looking at this fat big fish, they hurried back to the port. At sunrise today, Captain Zach of the rocket, the Heart, is extremely anxious. Everyone else has caught tuna, but I still got nothing. Besides, this is the most active time for tuna. But there was no sign of tuna, so I decided to wipe my bottom with the old method. The hot tuna just set out to sea for fishing at this time. I wonder why we set off so late. But their luck was really good. The detector went off as soon as we reached the fishing spot. It seems that there are fish leaping out of the sea surface. But that's not tuna. And just as they were striving, the probe of the rocket also showed signs of movement, and the fishing rod was bitten. This speed far exceeded expectations. However, the fish they hooked, but swam towards the hot tuna. Zach immediately got in touch by radio. But the problem was that everyone was concentrated on the deck. Zach's voice couldn't be heard at all. This drew a burst of laughter from the people around. But it seemed that he vaguely heard something, responded to Zach's situation. Then he turned the boat around and left. Zach finally breathed a sigh of relief. However, Daniel's work was not going well, just as he was happily pulling the fishing line. But the line was broken by the tuna. All the efforts just now vanished in an instant. At this time, the small shell had returned to the port. Start the tuna sale session. After the purchaser cut off the useless parts, this fish weighs only 495 pounds left. Next, the quality inspection of the fish meat is carried out. The buyer examined the fish in front of him. It is considered to have a good color, but the fat content is slightly excessive. Fortunately, the core part remains in good condition, willing to acquire at $18 per pound. This enables them to earn $8,910. At present, there are only 36 hours left for fishing. Captain Taylor of the windmill was in a state of anxiety. The fishing rod on the deck suddenly moved, and there's more than one fishing rod. There were actually two tunas biting the hook at the same time. After the other fleets learned of Taylor's news, all were stunned. Be amazed at his good luck. However, it is not a good thing for Taylor. If not careful, the two fish may get entangled with each other. The fishing line is highly likely to break. They must speed up the operation. When Marissa was collecting the fishing line, two tunas were found. The one in hand is larger in size. If not limited to one catch per day, they will surely do their best to catch two. At present, efforts need to be concentrated on dealing with this fish. However, just when they were concentrating on their homework, the other fish was extremely restless. Pull the fishing rod crazily. It causes it to tremble violently. New accidents may be triggered at any time. I had to give up that tuna. The fish in Marissa's hand. It has become their last hope today. Extra care must be taken. After more than 10 minutes of intense competition, the tuna finally surfaced. Taylor quickly grabbed the harpoon, stabbed the tuna resolutely. When the fish are floating on the sea surface, the two immediately step forward to control. Tie the rope for fixation quickly. Others listen to Taylor's showing off. I'm already in a bad mood. It's even worse at this moment. After the tuna cools down, the two work together to pull the fish onto the boat. Looking at this plump tuna, the measurement result is only 88 inches. Wasn't it said that this fish is very big? Could it be that the other fish is smaller? This fish is still stronger. The bedbug received a piece of good news. Dolphins appeared nearby. It seems not as good as the Tuna online account. A large number of mackerel gathered under the bottom of their boat. This is exactly the favorite food of tuna. So Bobby decided to go. Hope to gain something. At this time, Dave's detector started to move. There's also a fish nearby. Several people looked around warily. The fishing rod suddenly bent. Sandro rushed forward quickly, grabbed the fishing rod, and moved it to the stern of the boat. Recycle the fishing line here. After all, it is more convenient to operate here. After Dave took over the position, it was found that this fish was not difficult to deal with. It only pulled a few times before moving upstream by itself. Under Dave's pulling, the tuna seems about to surface. However, just at this moment, an accident happened. The tuna suddenly struggled fiercely. It's no longer as calm as just now. This gave Dave a fright. Fortunately, the situation didn't last long. After half an hour of struggle, the tuna was finally pulled to the surface of the sea. Paul picked up the harpoon quickly. Stand aside and wait for the right moment to act. I saw the tuna approaching the side of the boat. He suddenly thrust his fork down. Tie the fish tail quickly. Several people jumped for joy at once. Even the usually stern Sandro. She also showed a smug smile. After pulling the tuna onto the ship, measurements were carried out immediately. It was found that this fish was as long as 112 inches. It's truly a rare behemoth. I believe there's only one tuna. It can bring incredible gains. At this time, the captain of the bedbug, Bobby, the captain of the rocket, Zach, has been found. Try to get the news from him. However, nothing was achieved. The windmill at dusk. Arrive at the port to sell fish. Although this fish is relatively small in size, but if the meat quality is excellent, it can also earn substantial profits. After the useless parts of the tuna were removed, this fish still weighs as much as 316 pounds. The buyer examined the fish in front of him. It feels a bit inferior. The color is rather dark and the fat is acceptable. The core part looks fine. It has a certain degree of transparency. The final pricing is $11 per pound. It enabled them to profit $3,476. After Taylor left, the tuna network also entered the port. The sale of giant tuna has begun. Hand the fish over to the buyer. The acquirer quickly stripped the tuna of its clothes. Finally, there were 681 pounds left. However, the appearance of the fish and meat was not good. Excessive fat leads to a dull color. The core part is also rather ordinary. It can only be traded at a price of $10 per pound. But because the fish is huge, they still earn $6,810. With the end of today, The position of a champion remains unchanged. The small shell is still in its original position. Nowadays, there are only 24 hours left for fishing. Today is also the last day of this season. Everyone needs to do their best. The captain of the Hot Tuna, OTT. I'm getting more and more nervous at the moment. There is still a chance to seize the championship. A long time has passed, but still no sign of Tuna has been seen. His mood was nearly desperate, unless a miracle comes. Otherwise, they will miss out on the championship, even if Tuna really appears. It must also be heavy enough and of superior meat quality. Suddenly, the fishing rod in front of me bent slightly. Obviously, there's a fish biting the hook. The two were instantly extremely excited. Just now, I was still looking forward to the appearance of the tuna. There are fish taking the bait now, but it is still unknown whether it is tuna or not. First, pull this fish out of the water. Jared observed the speed at which the fishing line went out. I was convinced in my heart that this was a tuna. He increased his strength immediately, determined to take this fish in. Otherwise, this rare opportunity will be wasted in vain. Look at the fish gradually emerging from the water. It was confirmed that this was exactly tuna. Jared's expression instantly became excited. He increased the force in his hand again. However, it was discovered only when the fish approached. This dam isn't tuna at all, but is a useless shark. All the efforts were in vain. Captain Taylor of the windmill. After learning about Jared's situation, I feel rather lucky. Although no tuna has been hooked at present, but at least it was not in vain. Taylor is in a relatively good mood at the moment. When the dawn of today first appears, the captain of the small shell, Nick, come to the spot where the tuna was caught before, hope to gain something again. After all, at this last moment, every fish is of vital importance. This is the same for everyone. There are only 15 hours left for fishing. Every captain did his best to catch a giant tuna. After all, capturing as early as possible is the key. If the return to the port for sale is delayed, tuna is difficult to sell. It can only be taken home for consumption by oneself. After all, once it's past 12 o'clock, the fishing season will come to an end. The detector on the OTT ship at this time. The alarm has been sounded. The two were instantly extremely excited. Jared stood on the deck for a moment. The fishing reel began to swing violently. Obviously, a fish bit the fishhook. After OTT reported the coordinates, quickly stand beside Jared. Be ready to offer assistance at any time. After more than 10 minutes of intense pulling, Jared has finally achieved remarkable results. Tuna has risen significantly. It seems that this fish is about to surface. OTT quickly fetched the harpoon, stabbed the tuna resolutely. Immediately control and tie a rope after hitting. After pulling this fish onto the boat, measurements were carried out immediately, although this fish is only 74 inches long. But fortunately, the fishing standards were met. If it were any smaller, it would be unimaginable. When they returned to the port, the buyer was found to sell tuna. After eliminating the useless parts, this fish weighs 342 pounds net. Next comes the inspection of the fish meat. The buyer examined the fish before him. One can't help but marvel at how lucky they are. The color is bright and the texture is clear. The fat is even more plump and abundant. The core part is as alluring as a cherry. Show excellent quality. Therefore, the acquirer gave $19 per pound. If it weren't for the slightly insufficient weight, the revenue is sure to exceed $6,498. After hearing that OTT had successfully caught a fish, the captain of the fishing mania, Greg, he took out his secret weapon. Hoped to be in these cautious few hours. A huge tuna was caught. It is unknown whether he can succeed. Their secret weapon worked as expected. Just put it down not long ago. There was actually a fish that bit the fishhook. Everyone was immediately filled with excitement. I didn't expect that the bait had just been placed. Then there was a harvest. At this moment, Taylor's detector also rang. It shows that tuna has appeared nearby. The fishing rod bent accordingly. Taylor sent out the coordinates promptly. The windmill is in a difficult situation. The other fishing lines are entangled with the fish. The situation is not optimistic. It must be solved as soon as possible. It will break if not handled with care. When Billen was pulling the tuna, it was found that many fish had come close. Work harder. This tuna is sure to be caught. Marissa is extremely nervous at the moment. The remaining time for the arrest is only 11 hours. The fish must be towed onto the boat quickly. However, the fish are extremely active. The arrest is quite difficult. There's been no progress on Greg's side either. Still deadlocked with the fish. After some pulling and tugging, the tuna has surfaced. It seems about to board the ship. Marissa was even more excited. Increased the strength in the hand again. However, at this moment, the fishing line broke suddenly. The two were stunned. I never expected such a change. But at this moment, there is no time to be sad. One can only look for opportunities again. There was no mistake on Greg's side, however. Still fighting fiercely with the tuna. Dirty. Nowadays, the technology is very advanced. The tuna has been successfully caught. Pull it near the sea surface. As long as the tuna is not allowed to dive back to the bottom of the sea, it is bound to come easily. Billen stood aside, holding a harpoon. Gaze at the bright spots on the sea surface. After estimating the next position of the tuna, he thrust the harpoon down resolutely. Several people quickly control the tuna and tie it firmly with a fixed rope. Look at the big fish being pulled onto the boat. Greg firmly believes that he is the champion this year. The fish was measured to be 96 inches long, but it's not particularly huge either. It's even worse than the one Dave captured. There are only 6 hours left for fishing. Captain Taylor of the windmill, be determined to make adjustments. At this moment, the detector rang again. It has been heard many times during this period, but it did not bring the desired harvest. Good news came from Nick's side, however. A large number of seabirds are circling ahead. Obviously, there are schools of fish hidden in the sea. Sure enough, the detector rang out immediately. The tuna is approaching nearby. Nick came to the deck excitedly. Pull the fishing line at the stern. Make the bait seem more real. New discoveries have also been made for tuna websites. It's exactly the same as what Nick found. I don't know either who among them will catch the fish first. Suddenly, Tuna appeared behind Nick and quickly bit the fishhook. Several people took action immediately. Start a fierce struggle with this fish. At this moment, Taylor's fishing rod also made a movement. Obviously, there's a tuna biting the hook. The two quickly came to the deck. Engage in the battle against this fish. Immediately after that, Dave's fishing rod was also visited by Tuna. The three of them also quickly engaged in this fishing battle. Their movements are quick and agile. Remarkable achievements were made at the beginning of the battle. The escape of the tuna was successfully controlled. Nick held the fishing reel tightly. Feel the strong power of this fish. Its escape velocity is extremely fast. But in the end, in vain, he was slowly pulled back by Nick. Although it takes a long time. Half an hour later, the fish was finally pulled to the side of the boat. But it was found that this tuna was too small in size. The body length is less than 73 inches. Failed to meet the minimum fishing standards stipulated by the government. It greatly disappointed everyone on the ship. There was no choice but to rearrange the fishing line. Hope to catch another fish at the last moment. Meanwhile, Taylor is still in a stalemate with the tuna. The tuna on Dave's side is extremely active, even trembling while pulling the fishing rod. Suddenly, the fishing line broke. Sandro was stunned on the spot. The fierce confrontation just now vanished in an instant. At present, they can only look for opportunities again. Turn your gaze to the last hope, Taylor. His fish actually wound the fishing line around an unknown object. It made Taylor suffer greatly. Fortunately, this problem is not difficult to solve. It is still mainly the tenacious resistance of the tuna. But in the end, Taylor still pulled him to the side of the boat. Looking at the tuna floating on the sea surface, Taylor stabbed it resolutely with a harpoon. Control it behind the side of the ship. Tie it quickly with a rope. They caught another fish again. Unexpectedly, in these last 3 days, 2 tunas were actually caught. At present, they are highly likely to win the championship. Everyone's eyes fell on the tuna on the ship. The heart is filled with anticipation. A total of 106 inches was measured. This news is sure to make people envious. At this time, the fishing mania returned to the port. They began to sell their own tuna. I have no idea about this fish either. How much gain can it bring to them? Look at the remaining 409 pounds of tuna. The three of them were quite happy. It would be even better if the quality were also excellent. The buyer looked at the fish in front of him. The fat looks very good. It's just that the color is not very good. The core also looks just so. Only a unit price of $12 can be offered. Let them earn $4,908. It wasn't long before Taylor returned to the port to start selling the freshly caught tuna. After delivering the fish to the buyer, the useless parts were cut off quickly. There are only 463 pounds of tuna left. What a big fat fish. The fish meat looks good too. Both the color and fat performance are very good. The core looks good too. The acquirer is willing to offer a unit price of $18. Therefore, the two earned $8,334. And Dave and the others who were still at sea. There is no time to continue fishing either. We can only end this fishing and return to the port. After these 3 days of fierce competition, the windmill made its own efforts. It successfully won the championship, this time with $93,713. This was very uncomfortable for the other fleets. The differences among everyone were not significant before. The result is at this final moment. Taylor directly achieved a reversal. However, no matter how uncomfortable it is, it can't change the current facts either. That's all for this episode. Give it a thumbs up, and let's look forward to the next wonderful episode together.